The future isn't just about the tools you can use. Don't hold your breath because everything you know is going to change again faster than you can make up a new acronym for search marketing.
I've been doing this now for about 30 years before Google was actually called Google. SEO finally is dead. Now it's called GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. Now we are building AI agents that are doing many of tasks that not too long ago a human had to do. And I have to admit, I'm a bit obsessed with AI SEO at this point. I guess that's why I'm now #1 listing for AI SEO expert on Google. Don't see AI as a threat, see it as an opportunity. And then you got to learn how to learn. So you really got to try to think outside of the box.
If you're looking to get better results for your clients by using AI and learn the systems Chris has proven out over 3 decades of his digital marketing experience, you are in the right place. Now here we go with Chris Raulf. I just went to Google and I searched AI SEO expert. And after the sponsored results and the AI overview, the first link I see is chrisraulf.com. Chris, welcome to eCoffee with Experts.
Hey, thanks so much. Yeah, I guess I earned that #1 spot in Google, right?
Yeah. Can you tell me how you got there? You know, ChatGPT released 3-4 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And it seems like you may have started to earn that spot before then. Tell me the history.
Yeah, so ChatGPT launched in November of 2022, not that long ago. It's like a lifetime ago, right? When you think AI and what's happening in our industry. A month later, or I think 6 weeks later, I gave a presentation on how AI is going to impact global digital marketing for a European, like a globalization association, where I'm actually going to speak at in Berlin, Germany in April, which I'm super excited about.
Nice.
Yes. I was familiar, right, with OpenAI, ChatGPT, but not to the extent that made me an AI SEO expert. So the day after they asked me to do this webinar, every day I just watched YouTube videos on what's going on with AI, SEO, how it's impacting. So I found all these leaders of AI companies talking about what's going on. So I kid you not, up to when I presented that webinar, I probably watched 120 hours worth of YouTube videos.
Wow.
And apparently I became an expert. And ever since, every day I educate myself. I watch, YouTube videos every day. I follow Demis Hassabis, same all these people that develop these tools. And I have to admit, I'm a bit obsessed with AI SEO at this point. I guess that's why I'm now #1 listing for AI SEO expert on Google.
You do have to have that level of obsession, not only as a SEO practitioner and as a marketer in general to stay ahead in today's age, but also the leader of an agency. I talk with a lot of agency leaders and founders and all sorts of marketing leaders. And the one thing that I notice is they're all very well prepared. They have great information. They learn the most out of their entire team. They spend the most time learning and preparing and applying. And honestly, they're not afraid to fail and they continue testing and testing and testing. So you mentioned that webinar that you gave back 6 months after ChatGPT release.
Yeah.
I just signed up for your GEO is the new SEO, how to adapt your strategy for AI powered search webinar that's coming up at the end of March. Can you walk us through what you're going to be going over in that webinar?
Yeah. And by the way, if you do a search for AI SEO webinar, we should be right at the very top, right?
Okay.
Because I know a lot of people are starting to search on Google for AI SEO plus another word, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we do now. And I'm an educator first, then I'm an agency owner, and then I do all of the sales calls here at my business to make sure that we work with the right kind of company. So that being said, webinars are an excellent opportunity to share your knowledge, right? I think it would be unfair of me not to share my knowledge that I, acquire every day. And I'm so excited to tell people about what's going on in AI and SEO. So my business partner, Daniel Burns, and we host this webinar, I think every 3 months or so, because 3 months, that's a lifetime in terms of
Yeah.
AI. So many things are changing. So we're basically educating our audience what's happening. SEO finally is dead. I think now we finally can say it, right? Now it's called GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. So that's what we do now here at BSM, at Boulder SEO Marketing. So we educate our audience on, hey, this is what's happening, right? Since we last spoke, so many things changed. And then we also educate people about how we deploy, what GEO is. A lot of people have no idea what GEO
Mm.
is, Generative Engine Optimization. And then we show them our methodology and our tool called BSM Co-Pilot. And we try to help people make sense of the AI SEO craziness that's happening. Reality is that a lot of people that, are trying to do this stuff themselves, they will fail. I've been doing this now for about 30 years before Google was actually called Google. To have that kind of knowledge, you're not able to acquire in a year or two, right?
Mm.
It's not a sales pitch, the webinar. It's very educational. We give away
Hmm.
a ton of knowledge. And then at the end of the day, people, they realize how complex this stuff
Hmm.
is and they want to talk to me. So it's an educational event where we talk about many things that are happening in AI and SEO.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going, and we're recording this at the end of January, so we still have another 60 days. I'm not going to be surprised if the entire agenda of the webinar changes over the next 2 months, right?
Man, so I usually end up getting up super early the day of the webinar, and I have to work on the webinar for another 2, 3 hours because something crazy happened like the day before. I'm like, oh my
Right.
God, I can't talk about outdated stuff from like 3 days ago. Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's what I do, but I'm super passionate about talking about this stuff. So I hope we're going to put on a good show again.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you will, and I will be there. I would ask, what you discussed in the last one. If you do them every 3 months, it's probably been about 30 days since you did the last one. But I'm sure what you would talk about is outdated. However, if we would extract kind of the key points, if you can remember what the last webinar was, what were the main points at the end of 2025 that you really wanted to communicate going into the new year?
Yeah. So let me look forward, right? Since we last
Sure.
hosted that webinar, more people are now using actually agents, right? Chrome
Mm.
just came out with a major update yesterday where you have sidebar and, they are now incorporating agents into Chrome. So
Mm.
more and more people are now going to use, agents to do things for them. So there's A2A protocol, an open source protocol launched by Google that came out after that webinar. So that's
Mm.
telling me things are going to change rapidly in terms of agent deployment, development, how you and I are going to use these, agents to do things for us. Then also Universal Commerce Protocol was launched by Google. It's brand new, right? Don't worry if
Yeah,
you
tell
haven't
me.
heard about it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is stuff that I read on a daily basis. The webinar that we're going to host in March is going to be completely different based on
Mhm.
so many things that have changed in terms of AI and how this technology is evolving so rapidly. The stuff that we covered, I think it was December,
Mhm.
what a completely outdated, right?
Yeah.
But this is what excites me. This is what,
Yeah.
finally something is changing in our industry. And I
Yeah.
think people like me that have been doing this for 30 years, there's a few of us that are still in this game. I think we're finally excited again, and we're
Mhm.
so happy to share our knowledge. And I can't wait to host that webinar. By the way, if you do a search for AI SEO GEO Summit, I'm now hosting also a quarterly online summit. It's on my personal website, the Chris Raulf
Huh? I see
website,
it.
where I invite some of the most brilliant minds in the industry, where we talk about what's changing
Mm.
so rapidly in our industry. So again, I'm an educator first, agency owner. I also teach at universities, and then, I guess I run an agency and we do this stuff for people.
I guess I run an agency. So many listeners in our audience are also agency founders, agency owners. I would, wager to say not many of them have 3 decades worth of
Yeah.
experience, but let's say someone with 3 to 13 years of experience is running an agency. You're talking about being an educator, and really, the founder or the owner of the agency is not the one necessarily executing the campaigns. It's really up to the leader to have the best information, learn from other influential people who are on top of it, but then they have to communicate that to their team. How do you think about, other than the public facing webinars and education that you're talking about, how does your team stay up to date, and yeah, how do you keep them up to date?
That's a great question. So we use EOS, the EOS system. Probably a
Mhm.
lot of agency owners are very familiar with that
Mhm.
system. I teamed up with my business partner, Daniel Burns, I think 5 something years ago. He ran a web design agency in LA, moved to Boulder. We met, we really hit it off, personal level, business level. I'm not a web designer. I'm the SEO brain. So I'm the visionary. He's the implementer, right?
Mhm.
So they let me do the stuff that I need to do, right? Nobody bugs me. I just do my research and everything. And then I go for walks and I come up with ideas what we need to do. For example, the micro SEO methodology that I invented, trademarked after our website got hit by a Google core algorithm update. I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh my God, this is what we need to do to get things back on track, right? So I think about it, I visualize it in my head, and
Mhm.
then Daniel gets a meeting invite. We talk about it, and I'm like, build me this, do this, right? So he's very good at, implementing my craziness or what I come up with.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. I wake up in the middle of the night. I think about things for hours. And then, I call a meeting with Daniel and then I tell him what I need. And then we have a strategist, who then gets to help Daniel, train the team
Mm.
once he has conceptualized what I need, and we build it out, whether it's a product or a service or whatever it is. Right? And
Mhm.
then we have weekly traction meetings with the
Mhm.
entire company, a very small company, about 20 employees, where we educate them. We're very organized when it comes to training. We have a platform that we use where, our employees get to take videos, they have to do quizzes, etc., etc. Because I'm a
Mm.
teacher, this is very important, right? My
Mhm.
students, they have to submit an assignment. I get to grade it, right? So I sort of run this company in a similar way like you would run, teach a class, or I was in the army way back in the days in Switzerland. So there's a lot of the more structured you operate,
Mhm.
the more successful you are. It's, in my opinion, it's that simple, right? So I'm very
Mm.
lucky to have Daniel, Barb, and obviously the entire team that is able to execute on what my crazy brain is coming up with. I hope that
You're
answers your
like the
question.
Yeah, you're like the kite, and then Daniel is the anchor, and
Yeah.
Barb is the kid tugging on the on the kite string, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of being organized and inventing new products and services, I see on the BSM website, the Boulder SEO Marketing website, there's a package builder. So we're talking about how you offer your services to your clients, and I see 5 different packages, and I noticed the biggest difference between each one of these is they have a different number of micro SEO strategies per sprint that you implement. I have 2 different questions, but let's start off with the first one. First of all, walk me through the micro SEO strategies per sprint.
Okay, so that page is now outdated because things
Okay.
have changed since we built it not too long ago. So
Okay.
I completely sell our services different. Right now,
Yeah, tell me.
I tell people, look, you're going to buy X amount of time from us right now, right? Because we are working on optimizing our processes every day. So we're going to be able to do more in less time.
Mm.
And that has happened, I would say, very drastically over the last 6 months or so since we built that package builder.
Mm-hmm.
Because AI has developed so rapidly, right?
Mm,
Now we are building AI agents that are doing many of the tasks that not too long ago a human had to do. Because why? This technology has evolved at this point so that we
mm,
can actually build our own agents. So we have a team in Ukraine, developers that help us build these agents. So it's one of the things that I'm working on right now to update our pricing page. It's a bit of a challenge. I kid you not. And I'm glad
yeah.
you brought that up and I can talk about it. But right now, when I talk to potential customers, what I have to tell them is like, look, scratch that builder, no longer applicable. If you were
Mm,
to hire us for that package, you will get a lot more because we can do a lot more for that money that you're going to pay us, right?
mm,
My goal is that we're going to figure this out sooner than later. But guess what? AI is going to develop so rapidly. So I may have to use my sales strategy for the foreseeable future. All right. Back to your question. MicroStrategy is basically we're able to create the best piece of content on the internet in relation to a closely related set of search terms that people type into. Okay. Then, so micro SEO, the micro SEO strategies methodology is now part of our BSM Co-Pilot tool
mm,
methodology. Okay. It's one of the pieces where that tool is basically has automated many of the steps of the micro SEO strategies methodology of creating that ultimate piece of content. Okay.
mm,
It automatically does the SERP analysis, the search engine results pages analysis. It can help with keyword research. It will scrape AI overviews, the top 10 ranking blue links. It does a scrape of, the content that Gemini shows, Perplexity, Claude, etc. And then basically the outcome is that the tool spits out an outline of a piece of content. There's no questioning what needs to be on that piece of content. We know for a fact these are the
mm,
things that need to be on that piece of content. And then we're actually at that point where we can use AI to actually create content because we
mm,
build for every client, we build a virtual them. Just do a
mm.
search for SEO price guide. Do a quick
Okay.
search for
SEO price guide.
A lot of people want to know how much this stuff costs, right? SEO
Uh-huh.
price guide. Let me know what you find.
I see Boulder SEO Marketing, SEO costs in 2026, price guide for local businesses.
Guess what? That piece of content, 100% AI generated with
Really?
the help of Virtual Chris. So Virtual Chris is part of
Mm,
BSM Co-Pilot, right? I do a lot of podcasting. I do a lot of speaking, teaching.
mm-hmm.
I have my podcast. I do this and that. All my knowledge goes into Virtual Chris in a very structured way. So that thing
Mm,
is way more intelligent than I am. So it's not just AI generated content, right? It feeds on my knowledge.
yeah.
Does it go through a human review? Absolutely. Are we going to implement, visuals, YouTube videos, etc.? Absolutely. But we are a AI first agency now where we have AI operators. Those are our account managers, content professionals
Mm-hmm.
that oversee the AI, right? So it's hand in hand. So that's why I
Mm-hmm.
told you, I think we're one of the few agencies that actually have figured it out. Like
Yeah.
I'm biased, but proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. I want to go back to what you're saying about agents. So you have a team in Ukraine that's helping you build agents.
Yep.
And then it sounds like Copilot, the BSM Copilot, is basically a collection of agents. A very basic question for me because we also have a team that's building agents, probably not to the extent that you are, but because I see so much content on LinkedIn of people in X, people talking about building agents, Claude Bot and Claude Cowork are kind of like the they've taken the main stage, I would say. What platform are you building these in, or how do I interface with these agents if I were to go and look and try and build one myself?
That's such a good question. So we use all of them: GPT, Claude, Perplexity,
Hmm.
Gemini. Right now, it's a bit of pain in the butt because we have to jump language models because
Mm,
all of a sudden one advances so dramatically
mm,
that we have to make that switch, right? So right now, as of the recording of this podcast, today is Friday, January 30th, I think, we have just switched to back to Claude.
okay.
Guess why? Like, the content that we're able to create with Claude and our methodology ranks right away, right?
Hmm,
So to me, it's all about the results. So
mhm,
I'm okay with having to make the switches. We build a system so that it's very easy to go from model to model. But this is what we owe our clients, right? They're paying us
mhm,
good money for us to do that kind of work. And I want to make sure that we have the best chance to actually get them the results that they're looking for. I
mhm,
test all the systems personally. There's a virtual Chris on every possible, large language model. It's a lot of work, but that's what I have to do, right?
yeah,
Otherwise, I would feel bad taking the money from our clients and not being able to deliver the best possible solution, what they're
mm,
expecting. So right now, it's a bit of a hybrid. We use mostly ChatGPT and
mhm,
Claude. Claude's truly amazing. That content, SEO price guide,
mhm,
Claude, right?
yeah,
Many other pieces. So that's the model right now that we primarily use. But we use a variety of models for a variety of things. So they all have the different
mhm.
strengths.
No, I know in SEO the answer is always it depends, but I think that was a very thorough answer. No, I appreciate you going there and being transparent that we're always switching. You're bringing up a good point, which is we always want to provide the best for our client because we feel an obligation if they're paying us that we would in return do our best with the tools that we have available. And I think that really resonates with me. I know it will resonate with the audience. For the listener who's tuning in today and they don't have the capacity or the resources to build an agent, but they still want to provide the best results for their clients, maybe what's like the entry level mode, or maybe not the entry level, but like what things, if I have everything, SEO fundamentals, my schema, my technical is all lined up, what's kind of the next step to enhance the results for my clients using AI in this GEO world?
So at the beginning, we built our own tools. Extremely expensive, time
Hmm.
consuming,
Hmm.
resource draining. So we built BSM Co-Pilot. And by the way, there's a website, bsmcopilot.ai, that we just put up because we just launched version 2 of BSM Copilot. So BSM Copilot version 1 was completely created by us.
Mm,
We're not a software company. So as AI evolved, you're able to use more AI technology off the shelf, right? Because there's a lot of companies, they know how to build these tools. So
mhm,
we made the decision to, hey, we're going to stop developing our own tool because that's just a waste of time, money, and resources. And we're going to buy as many solutions off the shelf as possible. And then we use our team in the Ukraine to customize as many of these off the shelf
mhm,
solutions as possible. There are platforms like N8N. I'm sure you're familiar with
mhm,
platforms like that, where you can easily integrate off the shelf solutions to
mhm,
build something that you don't have to deal with on a daily basis. So that's been a game changer. And I'm
mm,
thrilled to have launched BSM Copilot, 2.0, that now we can take from GPT to Claude, whatever
mm.
large language model we deem the most appropriate at the time.
Yeah. So you're able to pick it up and kind of move it to wherever the market is moving to very quickly. Yeah, I love this. I'm just looking at that website, bsmcopilot.ai. It says the sweet spot: AI assisted, human directed, system driven. Now, is this incorporating basically the methodology of micro SEO, or that's
Yeah,
essentially what it is, right? It's like a process that now you're having agents run through each one of these different steps of the process.
exactly. So
Mm,
still at the heart of what we do is micro SEO. Basically,
hmm,
create a piece of content that is
mhm,
able to outrank everything else on the internet. Okay.
hmm,
And then the BSM Co-Pilot methodology is like once we have that piece of content, we can use our AI SEO methodology to then develop AI generated content, such as press releases,
hmm,
LinkedIn content for LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, right?
hmm,
That's basically the BSM Copilot part where we do all of the GEO things that will get us into these other platforms where these large language models are feeding on, right? They look for content
mhm,
in different places. So that's basically in a very simplified version what our
hmm,
GEO strategy looks like.
mm. I hear this over and over again. When an agency brings on a client, they're typically, unless they're like very niche agency in the industry, like dentistry or law or whatever, and those are the only clients they serve. Many agencies are not in that space. They're kind of a general agency. Maybe they target SMBs or mid market or enterprise. And a challenge that they have is to get the continuing deep expertise of the thought leader, which is their client, the ones
Yep.
who are running the business. But it's a challenge to do it month over month. Some people express like, man, I feel like I'm running out of content. How do I keep up to date? I mean, not all business owners are Chris Raulf, who has, hours and hours and hours of global presentations and podcasting. When I want to create deep, unique, valuable content for my client, how am I, as an agency owner, to extract that sort of information continually?
Yeah. Great question. So we, as part of, we have a very, very thorough onboarding process. And we do actually, if a client doesn't have their own podcast already, which most clients, they don't, right? If they
Mhm,
haven't written a book, if they don't, publish content on a regular basis, we do
mhm,
very in-depth interviews, sometimes hour-long interviews where
mm,
we extract that knowledge, right, from their heads. They're the business owner. They suck at developing content or like they don't have time, right?
uh-huh,
That's just a fact that exists. If you run a business, you wear so many hats. Digital
mhm,
marketing is like the last thing you want to do. It's probably, before you go to bed, you try to do something, but it's done terribly, right? So we extract all of that net new content by doing interviews, and then we're
mm,
building a virtual them, and then we're actually now trying to get our clients to do podcasts. Like
mm,
you and I were creating net new content. Nobody in the world before has ever said those words in this sequence, right?
mhm,
So this is all net new content. It couldn't be easier. You don't need to do a webinar with a live audience. All you have to do is talk about things that you're passionate about. Guess what? Just go for a walk, use your pocket computer, and talk to it. Like go
yeah,
for a 30-minute walk. And then it's like, hey, today, I worked with this client and I actually really enjoyed doing this and this and that. It's so easy to create net new content. Just do it and give us that transcript and we'll upload it into virtual you. Every day
mm,
that thing is going to get more powerful. Like virtual Chris.
mhm.
So my wife hates it, but
I can
because
imagine.
I talk to it more than I talk to my wife.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, and
Yeah.
it's always right.
Yeah,
Always
mostly.
always
Yeah, no, but that thing is so powerful at that point. I could
mhm,
lie at some point when I cash out and I'm done with this. I can license virtual Chris to
yeah,
other agency. Oh, by the way, this is where we're going with this whole AI stuff, right? And it's something I'm
yeah,
going to get into where in the not so distant future, you'll be able to license, virtual Chris because like
mhm,
who wouldn't want to have like an agency owner that's just getting started with
yeah,
AI SEO? Like if they had access to virtual Chris, that they could ask anything. It's like, hey, build me this or that, right? That this is where we're
yeah,
going with AI. That's why I'm so excited about it. I see the
yeah,
phase that we're in right now. It's just a step to like we're going to be able to actually do really cool things with this technology. Right now, it's rather stupid, in my opinion. So that's why I'm actually very excited about what's going on.
Yeah, very cool. It reminds me of something. I used to run a community of agency founders for Neil Patel and Eric
Oh,
Sue, and it was a fun time. It's actually how I got introduced to this company. And every week I would bring in a masterclass speaker and they would give, like a 45-minute presentation. Obviously, I would record everything and then I would do kind of like a study guide slash takeaway guide afterwards and release it to the community. But over the months, I selected like 20 or 25 of my favorite ones and I sent them each through ChatGPT and I said, extract the key points, the key methodologies from these. And then I put those into a knowledge base into ChatGPT. So now I have this like overall agency expert, which I can ask questions to. And, this was a year and a half ago or something. And I still ask it questions and am just amazed at how helpful it is.
so you basically build a virtual Austin. I think there's room for improvement,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Tell me.
Yeah, you should definitely watch that webinar, right? That we're
Yeah, I'm going to.
hosting. Yeah, I'll make sure that I'm going to show virtual Chris.
Nice.
It's basic. It's just you have to be organized, add content in a structured way. I'm actually working with Virtual Chris right now to consolidate some of the source of truth that's residing in its knowledge base because it's
Mm,
growing so rapidly. And I got to make sure I'm not blowing it up unnecessarily. So
mm,
that's one of the tips, right? If we have agency owners out there listening to this, build a virtual you. Mine
mm,
sits on Claude. It's not that hard. Just do a search for AI SEO webinar. Join us in March, or we host this on a regular basis. But yeah, I mean, that's gold. And,
yeah.
you did the right thing. You got
Mm,
started. Highly recommend doing this. If you're on an agency, that's
yeah.
gold.
Yeah, so gold. And I love that recommendation of making that virtual you. It does take a lot of content to produce, like you said, kind of the source of truth and see the through line of your ideology and methods and everything. Chris, as we wrap up the conversation here, I think it segues very nicely into the last question that I'll ask, which is as an SEO in 2026, what do you think is the most important skill we can have that's going to set us apart from the crowd?
Yeah. So fluency in AI, you need to know the tools.
Hmm.
You need to be able to do prompt engineering work across platforms. Don't see AI as a threat, see it as a opportunity. And then you got to learn how to learn. That's a
Mm,
thing that I tell my students. You really got to try to think outside of the box. This technology is the most profound change I think that humanity is going through right now. If you listen to Demis Hassabis, the CEO
mhm.
of Google DeepMind, he's so right. So AI tools, fluency, prompt engineering, and then you don't think outside of the box because nothing is impossible anymore. You're the
Mm,
only limitation that there exists. And I get it. It's like everybody is different. My brain is different than your brain, but this is an amazing opportunity for people, I guess, like me. I'm dyslexic. I'm not the smartest person. Yeah. Who would have thought that I can build something like that? If I can do it, I guarantee you there's a lot more smarter people out there that can do way bigger things. So yeah, don't be limited by what you think is holding.
very cool. I love that, especially the learning to learn. Like, man, have that
Yeah.
importance. That is such an important skill. I love it. Chris, thank you so much for being here. Where can we find out more about you? I mean, you gave us plenty of things to search on Google, which you are the first result. Can people reach out to you on LinkedIn to connect, or is there another place
Yeah.
you'd like
Yeah.
them to reach?
If you connect with me on LinkedIn, please include a note. I get a lot of
Yeah.
spam invites. So just say, hey, I listen to your podcast. Just do a search for my name, Chris Raulf, or AI SEO Expert. You'll be able to find me. I'm all over the internet.
Yeah. Yes, you are, and you're all over the world. Well, I look forward to attending that webinar in March, and who knows, maybe I'll even see you give a live talk at a conference this year. Chris Ralph,
Yeah.
thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Austin. It was a pleasure.
Cheers.